NBC News analyst Shawn Henry, who's with us here and has been watching this. What are your thoughts? And you see we have the name of a suspect. We have an incredibly high-powered weapon. We have somebody who chose a vantage point and the most innocent of victims watching a concert. What strikes you?
Like everybody else waking up this morning, is this the state of this country now going forward? From a security perspective, when I think about this, there are a number of things I think we have to consider. First of all, what was the motivation of this man? Why did he do this? Is he engaged with any other accomplices? Is there some wider conspiracy? Police officers have to be given a lot of credit here. Trying to identify where this person was in a high-rise. I've stayed at that hotel multiple times. There's a large open area, which is where this concert was, and there are multiple venues from where the shooting could have taken place. You've got the MGM, you've got the Luxor Hotel, all of these hotels, high rises, 30-plus floors. For law enforcement to identify where he was, to try and narrow that down, identify the perspective of where the shots were coming, while other law enforcement officers are trying to help evacuate people out of the area to maintain their safety, and then to gain access to that space and do what's called a dynamic entry. We heard the law enforcement officers doing an explosive breach where police officers are stacked in a line and they come into that room. It's a dynamic entry. They're not concerned about their own safety. Their primary concern is stopping the shooting to protect those people down below.
They don't know what they're going to encounter. They don't know if there are explosives. They don't know if there's more than one shooter.
That's absolutely right. But those police officers, the idea when you make an entry like that is to get as many weapons into the room using the explosion. It's a diversion, a lot of loud sounds, light. It's to divert the person, knock them off target, and then to come in and try to eliminate the threat.
Stick around for a second. Bill Bratton's just walked in, a former New York City police commissioner. And Commissioner, when we have big events here in Rockefeller Center, like tree lighting and things like that all the time, and when the police in a city like New York expect a gathering, large outdoor gathering of a crowd like this, they often do preliminary kind of overviews of the area to make sure they know what could happen from different areas. Would that have happened in Las Vegas?
Well, in Las Vegas, like New York, there's events like this going on all the time. The event last night, the protocols in Las Vegas, concert promoters, when they have a venue, have to hire at least one off-duty Las Vegas sheriff's deputy for each 1,000 people attending the concert. So there would have been quite a few off-duty Las Vegas officers. Las Vegas also benefits from the fact of having a full-time SWAT unit. There's a unit all the time. A lot of communities have to call them in. So the quick response, Las Vegas, large department, very good response for this event.
Talk about the difficulty of going into a crowded hotel as a SWAT team, locating the room where you believe the gunfire is coming from. By the way, that's loud. That could be one of several rooms on the floor, and then carrying out the mission they did, breaching the door and taking out the shooter.
I've stayed at the Mandalay. It's a huge hotel. Huge hotel. So the quick identification of the location and then being able to get a unit up there, as was just described, the entrance into that. We have the radio transmissions that we've heard this morning. Those officers did a phenomenal job. One, quickly locating this individual, and then two, making that entry and taking him out as fast as they did. Fortunately, none of the officers going in on the entry appeared to have been hurt during that exchange. A man obviously quite heavily armed, and just a reflection of the professionalism of that department.
Yeah, and one of the things that everybody's been remarking upon is the sounds that we're hearing, that gunfire, and every law enforcement expert, including the two before me who've heard it, have said that's an automatic weapon. And the caliber, I mean, you're talking about, I mean, if you do back of the envelope math, with 300 feet maybe at distance, and to be able to inflict that kind of damage, Shawn, I mean, what kind of weapon are we talking about?
Well, certainly listening to it, it's an automatic weapon. There may be multiple weapons, 9mm or 10mm caliber perhaps. But raining those shots down from 300 yards away, perhaps, those bullets, that person is likely just spraying across the entire crowd, and there are people that are going to be hit indiscriminately. It's not clear if there was an identified target. Was he trying to hit the performer on stage, or was he just trying to inflict damage? Certainly, with the amount of shots that were fired, this was intended for mass casualty.
And Bill, I mean, you think about this weapon and you have an idea in your mind what it looks like, and we've already talked over the last couple of hours. Everybody who walks into a hotel to check in to a hotel like that has a suitcase.
suitcase,
Some
golf
have golf
bags.
clubs, yeah.
There's no problem moving a weapon along into an environment. They disassemble, they can be put back together again. On the way over here, I was on the phone with former senior law enforcement official in Vegas whose daughter was at that event last night, who was caught up in that and talking about, he said his daughter's totally traumatized. There were people being shot around her. He is a law enforcement official, very familiar with what was going on. Traumatized himself, just thinking that his daughter might have been one of these, quite obviously, hundreds of people injured in this issue.
You think about the headlines we cover here and how many times we've talked about mass shootings, and whether that's a few people
This is the
or
worst.
dozens, but now you look at these numbers and you hear at least 50, with many more in critical condition at the local level 1 trauma center, and it's hard to even get your arms around something like this.
You guys will stay with us. We want to turn now. We've got another witness on the phone, Russell Bleck, who was there. Russell, good morning to you. I'm glad you're safe and able to talk to us. Can you tell us about what you went through, what you saw and experienced?
Thank you. And that is absolute chaos. This man, whoever the shooter was just spraying the crowd. I mean, you just saw people dropping left and right. I'm looking at the footage now for the first time and stuff, and it's hard to process what just happened.
Where were you, Russell, when the shooting started?
So my fiance and I were in the VIP tent, which is directly facing the Mandalay Bay. I'm guessing that's where most of the carnage happened, was over where we were. After the first few bursts, it sounded like firecrackers or like an amp crackling. I mean, Jason Aldean didn't even stop playing. And then all of a sudden, I was shooting video of his performance, and I was like, on second thought, that sounds like an AR-15. And then, sure enough, I mean, that was an automatic rifle without a doubt. I mean, he was just spraying the crowd. I mean, it was relentless. There's no stopping. You had only 5, maybe 8 seconds to move from cover to cover to try to move and get out of there as he reloaded.
Did you see the wounded, Russell? Did you see people who had been injured?
It was everywhere. I saw people. I mean, thank God it was a country concert. I mean, you saw a lot of ex-military just jump into gear. I saw guys plugging bullet holes with their fingers. I saw police officers, while everyone else was crouching, police officers standing up at targets, just trying to direct people, tell them where to go. I mean, the amount of bravery I saw there is just, words can't describe what it was like. I mean, there were 10-foot walls boxing everybody in. We couldn't escape.
How did you get out, Russell?
It took us about 10 minutes, 12 minutes to finally get out. We just went under bleachers, cover to cover, waited until he reloaded, and then moved. Just trying to get out of there. And it was really one way in and one way out, and the gunman had that bottlenecked. We escaped to the side where all the food trucks were entering and exiting through the police checkpoint.
I can't even imagine experiencing what you did. Could you tell especially at first, where the gunfire was even coming from? It must have felt like it was all around you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I could hear like it going through the tent flaps and stuff, and you can feel the ricochets off the ground. But what was interesting is, I'm from Kentucky. I've been around guns my whole life, but I mean, the guy was so far away, you did not know where the shots were coming from. There's just no telling, and then it would echo throughout the whole, area. So nobody knew where to go, and then all of a sudden a couple people would run away from a safe area, but you didn't know if it was safe. I mean, it was just absolute chaos and carnage.
Russell, stand with us for a second. I want to ask our guests here about something you just said. Commissioner Shawn, he said it seemed like there were only 5 to 8 second silences between the gunfire. So talk about your knowledge of loading and unloading a magazine from a weapon like that. Does that indicate that this guy had practiced this and had training?
Certainly sounds like he was very familiar with the weaponry that he was carrying. Only takes 3 to 5 seconds to disengage a clip, put a new one in. If he has them taped together, even faster. It will be very interesting to see what type of weapon, what type of ammunition. The type of ammunition is also critical here in the sense of some of the injuries that are being described that typical military-style cartridge could cause incredible damage.
And just to stick with you for a second, when you hear him, Russell, talking about police officers standing in the line of fire trying to help the people who had fallen victim to the fire, that's not surprising, I would imagine, to you.
Not surprising, and somewhat reflective of what I heard earlier talking to my colleague down in Las Vegas in terms of what his daughter had seen.
Russell, have you made contact with everyone you were with at that concert? I would imagine everyone scattered in opposite directions.
Yes, about an hour and a half later, we finally got in contact with everybody. A few friends, like acquaintances that we know, are in the hospital. They were hit. We don't know the condition. I mean, honestly, I don't think there's a person in Las Vegas that's not affected by this in some way. We're a pretty close-knit community. God bless those police officers. I mean, in a world where everyone's kneeling, these guys stood up and they knew what they were against, and they ran towards the danger with just handguns. I mean, that's real bravery right there.
It is.
They saved. I mean, there's no telling how many they saved. Every second was a life lost. And he was just spraying the crowd of tens of thousands of people. I mean, if you fired into that crowd, you were going to hit something. I keep seeing this total rise, and it just makes me so sick.
Hold on one sec, Russell. Shawn.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the rounds and the casualties that were inflicted here. I mentioned 9 or 10 millimeter. Those are weapons that I used in law enforcement on the tactical team, on the SWAT team. But in this case, if we're talking about military grade 223, those bullets, those rounds have the capacity to go through multiple people. You hit somebody and go through multiple people. The 9 and 10 millimeter that law enforcement uses typically are because you're looking to ensure that they don't transfer through sheetrock into other rooms. So they're special rounds made for that. But in this particular case, with an AR-15 or another military grade weapon, those rounds would have been able to go through multiple people.
Russell, our eyewitness who has just experienced something unimaginable, I hope you'll stay with us, and we're thinking of you and sending our prayers. I'm so glad you were able to mention the bravery of so many people in that crowd. It bears repeating and highlighting, and we just we send our best to you.
Thank you very much. Hope everyone's going to end up okay out of this.
Indeed. Thank you, Russell.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.